Hello everyone, this is your backyard gardener coming on today talking about pests in the garden. Give a few seconds for a few people to come on in and then we're going to get started. You have to go through the ads, so it's going to take a little minute. Sure Bus Pull Up, hello. You are first. Thank you for being here. Sky Jean, hello. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. NJ Kelly Gardner, hello. How are you? Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. We are going to start, we're going to talk a little bit about garden pests. On the rodent side, not the insect side. It's a pretty good topic. It's not a topic that I like to talk about because of my fear of pests. But Angela Garden says, hello, how are you? Thank you for being here. Garden, Miss Lady, hello. Tina, thank you for being here as well. I appreciate you guys coming on in. Steffi, thank you for being here, Stephanie. As soon as I said it, my chat clicked off. Melanie, moderator, hello. Thank you for being here. Guys, we're going to talk about garden pests. So, you are a new gardener and you have just started your garden. Or you're an experienced gardener and this year is different from any other year that you ever experienced as far as garden pests. Miss Farola, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. So you successfully started your garden and all of a sudden you got rodents. Now who want to see that? Green Organic Love, thank you for being here. Hello, how are you? It's been a minute. Who wants to see that? Because one of the things that we do in garden, we lay it out. I'm in the garden this year. We lay it out. I got all my amendments. I got my cute little planters. I got everything. I'm going to be one with nature this year. Until you start seeing things in the garden that you don't want to be one with. And I know for me, when I first started gardening, we had rabbits real bad here. We still have them bad, but for some reason they don't come to my garden no more. It's probably because of the cats, though, run them off. But, yeah, when I first started gardening, I was like, yep, I'm about to be one with nature. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to dig in that soil, get my hands dirty, smell the aroma of the dirt, start getting into permaculture, and then you start seeing mice or rats or raccoons or possums or worse, skunks. Now, I haven't seen any skunks around here, but we do have possums, raccoon, mice, and rats. Maybe about a half a mile away, and that's kind of close. A half a mile is not far. We do have deers that have started to come out of our park, their habitat, and start searching for different foods and stuff. So, like, the beginning of spring, I started seeing deers, and I was thrown back from that because a half a mile, that's too close. So I'm like, okay, do I need to be putting up deer fencing? So what we're going to talk about today is the different ways that we can deal with these pests. Now, you notice that I said deal with them. Restore Garden, hello, thank you for being here. And not get rid of them as far as euthanizing them. I don't believe in euthanizing raccoons and squirrels and birds, because actually we have to coexist with these things. Now, mice and rats is a whole nother situation for me. I'll set a trap in a minute. But with raccoons and squirrels, not so much, because it's a battle you're not gonna win. I mean, it's tons of them. Now, there's ways that you can kind of try and keep them out of your garden, sure. And we're gonna talk about those ways today. So, while we're going in there, while we're preparing to talk about this, I want to know from you all, because I'm gonna need a little interaction. What is the biggest pest problem in your garden that you noticed this year? And while you're typing that in the chat, because I'm going to go back and read them, we're going to tell on how to deal with some things. Because this is a part of their world, and we're just living in it. Now, already I see squirrels. Angela, let me tell you something. Squirrels have wreaked havoc on my garden. Squirrels is one of my big problems as well. I had the most beautiful corn, knee-high by the 4th of July, all that. I had 2 to 3 stalks on corn ears on one stalk, doing wonderful until within one day, one morning, the squirrels just took me out. I couldn't even get out there fast enough to get rid of them. So yeah, squirrels are something. Squirrels is a problem for me too. Let's see, rabbits. Okay, rabbits is a problem for me 3 years ago. And the terrible thing about rabbits, I'm so scared of rabbits. I've had a childhood experience, not even childhood, teenage experience with rabbits that I just, we're gonna have to do a story time one day. But yeah, rabbits, I pack up for a rabbit. I'm scared of those. So rabbits can be a problem. Now, Sky Jean said moles and voles. Now, that's something that a lot of people is having problems with, and I'm seeing it all over the Facebook forum that I'm in some of the groups. Those moles that with the little hands and tunnel underground and just pop up. Yeah, that's been a big problem for a lot of people in maybe a little bit north from me. We don't really have them here in the city, but if we go out a little bit, oh yeah. And actually, my first time ever seeing one is when I took my son to drop him off at camp. And I'm one with nature, because we're on the campground and I'm just walking and I'm seeing all these holes, but I'm not knowing what they are. I'm like, oh, they must be doing some type of irrigation. And one popped his head up out of the hole and looked, and this one was super friendly, running all around people. So I guess he was that was it for me. I was like, if you want to go back with me, you can come on, but I'm about to go because I can't deal with those. I'm so scared of them. And then some people say they're cute. I don't see anything cute about them. Let me see. Green Organic Love said, I had a big rat. I sprayed a lot of peppermint oil for 2 months. I lost it. For 2 months straight. Haven't seen any signs. I hear that peppermint oil is very good for that. Very for getting rid of mice and rats. So yeah. And then you have people who will say, well, I don't really have too many pest problems. Here's the thing. Most of these pests are nocturnal. You go out there at nighttime, you'll see them. They're there. They're not going to be out in the daytime like that. But try going out there at nighttime and you'll start seeing a whole lot of stuff you ain't noticed in your yard. So yeah, that's what you have to do. So Angela said they're driving me nuts. Yeah, those squirrels can do that. All right, Indiana backyard gardener said I have rabbits, but they do not bother my garden. That is good. But my question to you is, do you have a fence around your garden? Because if you got like this was the solution to my rabbit problem. Other than messing with my, this was how I rectified that. A fence around the garden, maybe 4 inches high, but mine was taller than that. Mine might have been, yeah, it was about 4 inches high, 48 inches high. 4 feet high, I'm sorry, 48 inches high. That worked for me. Fenced in my little garden area, and that really worked well for me. So that kept the rabbits out, except for the baby rabbits, because they could squeeze through those little fence panels. So if it didn't become such a problem where I had to try to deter them from that, because like I say, once the cats started coming in, it was like everything else kind of left out. That's why sometimes we have to pick our battle. Okay, what we want to deal with? I don't like cats in my garden. I don't. I don't even like them around my house because I'm a little. I have fear of cats too because they just too extra friendly, and I don't like them walking between my leg and rubbing their body. I don't like all that. I'm not affectionate like that with the cats. So that can become a problem as well, but I had to pick my battle. So I don't mind the cats because the cats run off the mice and run off the rabbits and all of that. So I don't have to deal with that. So I have to deal with the cats because that's the battle that I picked to deal with, and that's fine. Okay, short bus pull up. And speaking to everybody, let's see what else we have here. They live in the bushes. The rabbits do, Indiana backyard gardener. They are chomping on my tomatoes. They are taking big bites out of my tomatoes. Now, see, that's when it does become a problem because it's like, man, I worked so hard to get my garden and I'm starting to produce fruit. And here y'all little selves just come in and just recap it, and it's not like they're gonna eat one piece or finish one piece. They nibble out of this one, nibble out of that one, nibble out another one. Food Force Permaculture, thank you for being here. So I can see where they are becoming a problem. Now, this is something else that I noticed. Just because Food Force Permaculture came in, people that study permaculture, and I'm getting deeper into permaculture lately, they welcome these things because it's a part of nature. It's even with the pests. Every pest has a reason for being here. If you have a snake, people want to get rid of the garden snakes, but guess what? The garden snakes get rid of the mice because that's what they eat. So it's, again, you have to kind of pick your battle on what you want to deal with. Now, I never had an encounter with a snake. My sons have had pet snakes and whatnot. I never held them, but I wasn't so freaked out about them that they couldn't have it. Now, when they wanted a hamster, we had problems. I don't like that. But I did allow them to have little pet snakes and iguanas, so that wasn't a problem. But you got to kind of figure out your balance because everything we're not going to be able to control. We're not going to be able to have that perfect land or that perfect garden where we have no pests. That's just not even, I don't even think it's possible. And if it is possible for somebody, I like to know how you do it. Because I'm sure in going in my garden and I see things that's knocked over. Well, what knocked over a big old piece of wood I had laying out there? Or I'll see stuff that's been digging in. Well, what can dig into it? The cats could be doing that as well. But 9 times out of 10 is probably some type of rodent. So we have to be mindful of that. Now, with that being said, One of the ways that I kind of deal with all these different rodents coming in, and one of my biggest battles was the house behind me, the vacant house behind me. Since the city had cleaned up back there and keeping it clean, it's like the rodents is moving into more territory that has a lot of more brush. They don't like to be seen like that. So they'll move in areas where there's high grasses and high weeds. So if I can keep that back there, I'm not saying it'll totally eliminate my rodent problem or my pest problem, but it'll keep it down to a minimum where it's at least manageable. Now, one of the things that I also notice is that if you have a lot going on in your garden where it's just so much, that does attract a lot of different rodents and a lot of different pests to your garden. If you have plants that's stacked on top of plants and you can't really get through there, or there's no aisleway, it does play a role on pests being in your garden. If your garden is overgrown and not maintained, that will play a role as well. A lot of people, and it's no shade, but a lot of people believe in the chop and drop method, which is a good method because it does give back to the soil. And for me, I even do chop and drop on my comfrey. But by me having garden beds, I could chop and drop it right in that bed where it's not just weed whacked down all over the ground and I'm walking on it. Because one thing about walking through tall grass, you don't know what's in that grass. I called myself years ago gonna have a little romantic stroll out on Belle Isle one night by the waterfront until I seen a big old rat run across there. It was the end of the romantic stroll for me. Like, yep, let's go back to the car, run. I can't because I'm so scared of rats, mice, and rabbits. That is my biggest phobia. Everything else I could deal with. So with tall grasses, they like to scurry through those tall grasses. So if we keep our garden kind of maintained in a form where we're pulling those weeds constantly, or we're making sure we mow our lawns, if you have lawn in your garden area constantly, those will help too. They also have certain types of repellents that you can put down. Green Organic Love had mentioned she put the peppermint oil down. That works well, and we talked about it last week where mint actually works well in the garden, planting the mint plant, because it will deter certain pests away from your garden. Now, one of the things with me, by me now being a beekeeper and having bees, guess what? They want some of that honey too. The rodents do. So I have to worry about mice getting into my hive. How do I deter mice from getting into my hive? I have a little it's called an entrance reducer that I put on, but I just recently took it off to get more airflow. But I could take a small screen where it's big enough for the bees to come in and out and put it across there, put some what are those thumbtacks, and staple it across there where can't nothing get in, because mice will also try to get up in your hive. They are known for that. They want some of that sweet honey as well. And sometimes they get in there and they wreak havoc on your whole hive, because if I open my hive up and I see a mouse, it's a wrap. Ain't nothing I can do with that honey. I don't want it. Not no mice done been rolling all in it. So you have to be kind of careful with that. And that's just in my mindset, because one thing that I've learned about mice is even with our bread. Okay, all this wheat is grown in big old fields, correct? And mice run through all that wheat. This is the same wheat that they make our bread with. So the FDA has approved certain a certain amount of rat hairs to be allowed. And I know this gonna freak y'all out and y'all ain't gonna want to eat bread no more, but look it up. certain amount of rat hairs to be processed and gone through because you can't go through all of it. So if you think about those big old pretty fields that you ride past when you riding up to the country or you riding up north or somewhere, and you see all the corn stalks and all the wheat fields, guess what? You know it's mice and stuff up in there, and they're enjoying it. And most farmers will tell you that they do have rodent problems. It's just a part of nature. So it's not so much as trying to get rid of them per se, but it's trying to deal with them. Relocation, like the real relocation, to relocate a raccoon to another area. I know it sounds kind of bold. Well, now you're putting it on somebody else. Well, I'd rather relocate it than kill it. And then I think, to be honest with you, I think they're protected here. You can't kill raccoons here. If you caught, you'll be fined. So you go out to Home Depot or one of these big box stores and you buy you a cage and you trap them. And then you take them and you relocate them. I can't stand raccoons either. Raccoons, they're cute from afar, but they can do some serious damage, y'all. They can do some, and their urine smells horrible. And the reason why I know that is because one of them got into one of my rental properties that I was renovating. And man, the whole family, the mama, the daddy, and the two little raccoons got in there. So getting them out was quite a task. And then after getting them out, you got to clean up. And that smell is the foulest smell you ever want to have. So they can do a lot of damage. Like I say, they're cute from afar, but I ain't trying to deal with them for real. Yeah, they are smart. They're very smart. And they're very nurturing to their own as well. Like I said, it was a whole family of them that had gotten to the house from that I was renovating from the eave. So through the facial board where the gutters were. And they would go in there every day. I mean, they were even in the windows. And the neighbors was like, I think you got a whole family of raccoons in one of your houses. And they was just in the window like, hey. So we had to go in and set traps. And it took a while because, like you say, they're smart. So they wasn't just falling for, okay, you got a can of tuna in this trap. I know what this is. And I thought, you done caught my dad. You think I'm going to fall for it? So it did take a while to get them all out of there. But we finally got them out of there. Let's see. Deer. Like I said, we don't really have deer here. Too close to me, but they're about a half a mile away, and that's more than close. So what can we do about the deers? We could put up higher fences, 6 to 8 feet. And I'm going to tell you, a deer, all right, sorry about that. They will jump that 6 to 8 foot fence if they can get a good running start. So that's not a problem for deer to jump a fence. So what we can do is build some type of things around our trees, because a deer launch down a tree, especially a young tree, with those tender limbs in no time. So those are some things that we could do. We could try to, and then at different big box stores. Now I don't know if it worked because I've never had the problem with a deer, but they do sell different types of deer repellents that will they don't like it, they'll run off or go somewhere else. So those are things that you can try as well. And these are common animal pests that we're talking about that we see every day or we've seen before in our yards. So it's not to it's to keep the new gardeners encouraged that these are some of the things that you're going to have to deal with, and you might not. You might not have a problem depending on how your garden is set up. If you're gardening up on your patio or your porch, You might see a raccoon or you might not because they come out at nighttime. So by the time you get out there in the daytime and you see something and dig in, don't freak out too bad about it. Just figure out a way to keep them away. Like I say, plant some mint. Um, Green Organic Love says she put out peppermint oil, kept doing it, and now she don't have that problem anymore. Also, if you're not scared of the garden snakes, then leave them out there. They're going to take care of the mice for sure. If you have rabbits and you scared of the rabbits and you have a little cat, or if you have a little dogs will chase them off. They don't like all of that. They will chase them off and they'll keep it away because they know in that yard she got some guard dogs, and I'm not going over there because I don't want to get hurt or ate up. Those are some things too. Health share. I'm so scared of mice and rodents. You are not alone. I am too. I'm very scared of mice and rodents. I had a mouse in my house before, and I told my sons, they were like teenage to almost adult, get them. When you get them, call me. I'll be back. I wouldn't got me a room. I can't. I'm scared. And then the younger ones are more playful. And that's why I stopped using my side door because they're so quick. They'll jump in quick. And I also took down a lot of my hostas. I had a bunch of hostas plants planted around my front yard, and they love to just move through there. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why everything is just so clean line, because I'm trying to keep the pet, not because I just want this organized garden. I do, don't get me wrong, but it's more so because I'm scared of pests. I'm scared of mice, scared of raccoons. And even with that being like that, I still have problems. One day I went to go, just not too long ago, went to go turn the water spigot on to water the garden. And so I couldn't get my eyes on it, but I saw it move. I don't know if it was a mouse or if it was a rabbit, baby rabbit, but it shot from behind one of my raised beds. So yeah, they're pretty. If you got a phobia, if you scared of them, it's hard. But you got. I guess we have to face our fears and try to get over them. But I ain't got over them in 54 years yet. So I don't see me getting over them. I just be careful. I let them do their thing at nighttime, and I don't go out too much at night in the garden messing around. Um, my son them, they'll have bonfires at nighttime. They be like, "Mom, you want to come on?" Because I'm scared. I'm scared of what may run up on us at nighttime out there. And then the terrible thing about it, guys, is that they won't hurt you, but they'll make you hurt yourself. So that's pretty wild. I live 2 houses from a farmer's field. The critters run wild out here. Yeah. Those farmer fields and stuff like that, they deal with it on a daily basis. I don't know how they deal with it. I think they're so used to it because it's really not a lot they can do. If you grow on a bunch of wheat, or if you're growing a bunch of corn, that's a perfect habitat for them. So it's like, to be a farmer and to deal with that, you definitely have to not be afraid of not be afraid of mice and different types of rodent. And that's probably why, I have a property up north, and I'm very tiptoeish when I go up there to my property to spend time. Up there, you got deers, you got raccoons, you got rats, you got everything, because it's like not a commercial type area, but it's like an off-road type area. The houses and the cabins up there are beautiful, but you still gonna be dealing with those rodents. Well, back to picking my berries, as I am smarter than the birds. All right. Thank you so much, Food for Permaculture, for coming in. I appreciate you. A lot of us, even with birds, have become a problem where they'll pick your grapes and whatnot. And a lot of people put up that bird netting. I don't agree with the bird netting, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the bird netting actually hurts the birds. And even though I don't want you in my yard, I don't want to hurt you. You know, I love watching the birds. But when they fly over and they get caught up in their netting, either they get the netting around their neck or around their leg, who finna rescue them? I'm not, because I'm scared of them to touch them like that. But I don't want you to get caught up, and that's one of the reasons why I don't use bird netting. I prefer to use some type of shade cloth before I use bird netting. That way they don't get caught up in there. Because I don't consider them a pest, but they can be a nuisance to you. Because a bird will sit there and eat peaches, eat your fruit, and just peck. Peck, peck, peck. Like right now, after this video, I got to go out there and check on my watermelons. I saw a scratch on it. And normally when you start seeing scratches on your melon, even if you go into a grocery store, you're going to see little scratches on the melon. That lets them know that everything is starting to become ripe and they trying to get at it. So there's a couple of things that I have to go out there and check. I also want to put some cardboard up under the melons as well, so it's not so much touching the ground as much to get that faded side on it. So yeah, dealing with the pests is quite difficult. Can be difficult, especially if you're scared of them like me. You can't deal with them. So we got mice, voles, rats, things that are attached to them that attracts them is compost. One of the things that attracts these type of pests is your compost pile, and that's why some people don't compost and some people don't. I truly want to compost, but I have to put in the factor of what that compost is going to bring. So I've come to the conclusion that I am going to compost, but my compost pile will not be nowhere near my house. If I get that property behind me, the compost pile will be at the end of that property somewhere, because they will attract rodents around your compost pile. The different stuff that you throw over in there will attract those rodents. Also wood. If you got a whole bunch of wood and debris that's stacked up, those things will attract rodents as well. If you don't need it, throw it away. You don't have to have it, get rid of it, because those things will hold an area and a habitat where the rodents and the mice, they love to be and stuff like that. If you have wood stacked up properly, like firewood, that's a different situation. They will be around that as well, but it's not like just a whole bunch of logs just throw it away where you had a tree cut down and fall down and you never did nothing with it. So just try to clean up piles of wood would be great. Garbage cans. If you notice, in any of my videos for the past 2 years, you have not seen a garbage can in my yard. It had gotten to the point where the mice and the rats would eat the bottom of the Corville containers here. So I had to actually move my garbage can to my house next door over in the driveway. I'm working on that house, haven't finished it yet, so it's over there. And I'll walk my bag of garbage right over there, and I'll pull it out every Tuesday for the garbage man to pick up. And that's something that a lot of us, we got to deal with that every day. But it depends on what you put in there. If you got some old meat, or you just cleaned the chicken or whatever, and you know it's 100 degrees outside, you might want to hold all that before you throw it over in that garbage can. If that garbage man is not coming right away, you might want to hold that in your refrigerator in a bag until the garbage man come. And then you ain't got to attract all these different animals, because that stuff will smell to high heavens. I'm telling you, it will stink. it will reek, and it will bring all the rodents to your yard. So that's another thing that we can do, keeping our yard as tidy as possible. That helps. Another thing that I found that kind of attracts rodents is bird feeders. I love to feed the birds, but when I was feeding the birds and they would peck and peck up off the thing and drop kernels down on the ground. Well, guess who comes for the kernels that's dropped on the ground? The mice or the rats at nighttime, because they got that little nose going and they trying to find it. So my bird feeders will be, when I put them back out, they will be set out far away from the house. They won't be like hanging right off the gutter or none of that. They will have to be far away from the house, because they will attract rodents as well, those bird feeders. So we went over the rabbit fence, 2 to 3 feet high. That'll solve your rabbit problem. And if you can dig at least 6 inches deep, it'll stop them from tunneling over. The only thing that I really don't have a sure proof answer to is those voles. I don't know. And those moles. I don't know if you're growing in a raised bed. The bottom of that bed, you could put some type of weed barrier, not weed barrier, but it's the still like little skinny little fence. I can't think of what it's called. And you can staple that to the back, that mesh, and that'll keep them from coming. Because, see, they go underground. That'll at least keep them from coming from underground. But if you're an in-ground gardener, where you're gardening and you putting everything down on the ground in rows, I don't even know how you can do that. I don't even know what they don't like. That's something that we have to definitely research. Hardware cloth. Thank you, Miss Farola. That's exactly what it is. So that's definitely, that wire mesh will help out a lot if you put it at the bottom of your beds. It'll stop them from being able to come up. I found out that they don't like that steel wool. It messes with a mouse teeth. So things like that, that's pretty much all you can do. It'll stop the gophers too. Gardner even said I put hardware cloth, fine metal mesh to stop gophers. And those gophers are something else too. We don't have those problems, but I see them on a lot of different people foreign and Facebook page. But man, those gophers are something else. They could really do some damage. And don't even think about it. Keep all going. On to the next one. Just leave you just looking crazy. I have wire mesh under my garden bed. Experimental gardener, does that help you? Because I hear it does help a lot, having that garden mesh. So these are things that we can use to kind of prevent it. But to be one with nature is to include these pests as well. So for all those that starting to become, yes, it does help. Great. For all those that are becoming a newbie gardener, these are things you got to think about. And we got some great ideas in the chat where you can get the wire mesh. You can get the hardware cloth. You can do things to kind to prevent them from eating your crop. You don't have to so much get out there and kill everything that run across your path, unless it's a threat to your life, not your garden. And most of these garden pests are not life-threatening. Even the snakes, if they're garden snakes, they're not venomous. They're not life-threatening. So if you ain't scared to pick them up and throw them somewhere else, hey, you got to do what you got to do. So that's all that I have. I really appreciate the interaction that you guys gave me today, as in every day. But I thank you all for being here. If you have not pressed the thumbs up button, please press it for the host. I ask that you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next video. Happy gardening, everybody.